Today is a great, wonderful, amazing, incredible day, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a Denmark day. Why Danish sounds funny to Scandinavians. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
Danish sounds odd, like a throat condition, like Danes are holding back a cough, or maybe they got a potato stuck in their throats. Apparently, at least that's what everyone's telling me.
As a native Swedish speaker, I can inform you that Danish is not a language, it's a throat condition. That's quite funny, come on. Danes, you must admit that's funny. I've heard it referred to as if they had a hot potato in the mouth while talking in the circles of friends who's learning Norwegian. Danish is hard because of their potatoes. Speaking with porridge in their mouths is also common to say in Sweden. All these are too said about the southern Swedish dialect Skanska, which used to be a Danish dialect 300 years ago. Okay, so also, not just the Danes, but the southern Danes, the Malmo guys, you guys get called potato mouths as well.
But why? Why does Danish sound so funny to people?
I don't hear it.
I recently explored how Swedes, Norwegians, and Danes can all communicate without having to switch languages. But this wasn't fair and even. Some languages were more intelligible than others. The internet eagerly pointed its finger at one language in particular. Danish did it. I post a video and I'm told that Danish is a throat condition. I log into social media and I read about the potato in their throat. I go visit a discussion board and it's a strangled goose.
What do people mean when they say the Danes sound like having a potato in their mouth? I'm Danish myself and I don't get it. Someone speaking Danish sounds like a strangled goose. Oh my god.
A study tells me Swedish kids hear Danish as uglier and stranger than Danes do Swedish.
Oh my god. Swedish is beautiful. Danish is ugly. Swedish to Danes. Danish to Swedes. That's not nice. I don't think that. I've heard a bit of... Have I heard enough Danish? I don't know, but yeah.
Sure, some of this is banter and good-natured teasing. But even taking it all with a grain of salty herring, I still have to ask, what makes Danish sound so funny? Maybe I could just add my own theory. I'll blame it on too much Danish butter in their kringler. But no, this is native lang. So you already know what we're about to do. Sift through the history of Danish to uncover what specifically about its pronunciation makes it stand out. Now, Danish is notoriously hard to learn to pronounce. You'll hear me try, but somebody please back me up.
Grød med fløde.
Oh my god, it does sound like there's a potato stuck in your mouth. What? What was that?
Let me try, but somebody please back me up.
Grød med fløde.
Grød med fløde. I don't know what he said. Oh, they said.
Okay. Travel back in time. Once upon 1,300 years ago, Denmark was speaking an Indo-European Germanic language with a unique northern flavor, which we call Old Norse. To them, it's the Donsk tunga, the Dane tongue. Throughout Scandinavia, this is a time of unity. Everywhere you go, Norse sounds like Norse. But soon these Dane-tongers grow restless and get upgraded to Viking status. In the Viking Age, something will change. It starts in Denmark. A Dane, probably many Danes, but definitely this one, decides, I'm going to start saying my vowels differently, which leads East Norse to split away from West Norse.
Okay.
It's the start of a trend, the perfect setup for the rest of our story. Hey everybody, there was another sound change in Denmark. And at this point, over 1,000 years ago, we can officially call it Danmark, the Dane March. See, this runestone says so. The Vikings settle down. The Middle Ages settle in. At this point, Scandinavia is a continuum of dialects that smoothly trace their origins to East and West Norse.
Okay.
Oh, and the too often forgotten Old Gutnish on its own island, where vowels sometimes didn't agree with either Norse, West or East. Officially, though, this is an era of Latin, not too much written Norse, until Denmark decides to go medieval and ink the Scanian law. Thanks to scribal copying, this law was available in multiple versions, including this awesome one in runes. Its words show off another Danish change. Unstressed vowels are getting weaker. This is how your nicely distinguished endings in Swedish and Norwegian will all end up in Danish with Meanwhile, the Hanseatic League is uniting to dominate the continent's northern coast, which brings a war and many new words from Middle Low German, or Middle Nether Dutch. Also, meanwhile, another change is happening in Denmark. Consonants becoming softer, like how t softened to th in mathr to mad. This is lenition. It's a normal change, just ask Spanish, but weirdly, Danes do it at the end of syllables. Consonants and unstressed vowels are weakening, but stressed vowels are multiplying. By count, Danish will end up with more distinct vowels than maybe any other language. Now this is a Danish that's getting different. We're onto something. But on the sounds funny scale, so far I'd rate it a chuckle.
Yeah, but he still hasn't explained how this happened to Denmark, but like Sweden next to you didn't get these changes. I mean, southern Sweden a little bit, but not really. Like, it's weird that you know, countries that share a landmass have different languages like that. Like, it's weird. I guess in the UK we've got that as well with Scotland. The way they speak in Scotland, Gaelic, and then you've got English. I guess so. But most people speak English in Scotland with an accent. But then if you hear a Scottish accent and you hear a London accent, they're very, very different. So, I get it, in a way.
So far, it's 1526.
Oh, and Wales, they speak Welsh, which is completely different from English. So I get it.
A Swede writes that Danes sound like they want to cough, turning words in their throats, writhing and ringing. What is this throatiness? We won't know for another 2 centuries before a Danish grammarian writes in the Concordia res parvae crescunt. Hey, at least my Latin works. Also, bold title. Well, this book describes how Danes pronounce many syllables with a very little hiccup. A little hiccup with a bold name, a punch, shock, or blast, is a stød. This punch to the throat isn't one sound. It sums up an entire process, a complicated process with...
Wow, start with a high pitch, start with higher intensity, increase subglottal pressure and airflow. Yeah, that's what I mean. You say certain words that are almost like they're not just, you don't just say them. They have to come from a certain place in your throat. That's what makes the language difficult. Like, it's not just like you have to change a melody or anything. It's like natural frequency, decrease low spectrum intensity, drop fundamental frequency, lower airflow. Like, there's a whole thing of this.
Multiple phases and a bunch of anatomy happening in your throat. It's not on every syllable either. These don't have it.
Tåre, gør,
These ones do.
sår, dør.
It's been called creaky, cough-like, and let's not forget, a constant stream of tiny hiccups. And it is crucial if you ever want to master that genuine Danish accent.
Right.
At the very moment this author's writing about hiccups, there's another sound change in Denmark. This time for once, though, it's not Danish's fault. Danish preserved a trilled Norse rrr. But now, throughout France and Germany, a new R is spreading. A dramatic change worth its own story, the so-called guttural r. Instead of a front-of-the-tongue trill r, it's a back-of-the-mouth r. Denmark caught a bad case of this bug, whose symptoms include turning words like rødgrød into this.
Rød grød.
The result...
Do you really say that? That's hard to say. It doesn't feel nice either. Like a rødgrød doesn't sound too bad.
Isn't even throatier Danish. We're almost there. Almost. Because they have all the right sounds in Copenhagen. But Scandinavia is still a rich tapestry of dialects. Sweden will keep its many variants, including a Swedified form of Gutnish. In Norway, there's still no single spoken Norwegian. But back in Denmark, the old dialects, some of which never even had that stø, will witness one last change. Traditional dialects will mostly vanish. We end up with nearly all of Denmark speaking one language, a language with the simplest grammatical endings in Scandinavia, weakened consonants, perhaps the largest number of vowels in the world, and little hiccups and rs. And that is how the Danes went from speaking Norse just as well as anybody to sounding amazingly odd, or oddly amazing. Stick around and subscribe for language.
Nice animation. I enjoyed this video. Interesting. Very interesting. Danish is weird. Sounds different. But it's not weird. I think if I do you know, I feel like I should have started with Denmark. Learning about Denmark first and then moved on to Sweden. Because then I wouldn't like hear the difference. But now, because I've been listening to a lot of Swedish, going to Danish is like, well, this is like a different language. But with similarities to Swedish. And yeah, but you guys can communicate with each other, so it's not that bad. Yeah, so yeah. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you very soon.